Can we achieve herd immunity from COVID-19 vaccinations in 2022? Are homegrown vaccines a possibility in Nigeria? Are we proactive in our response to other diseases which have higher fatality rates than COVID-19? My guest answers these questions and a lot more in our interview segment. We focus on adherence to non-pharmaceutical guidelines in Abuja in our FCT in Focus. By now, you would think that mask wearing and hand washing would be second nature to us. But as with most things in Nigeria, a lot of us are yet to buy into the importance of these guidelines. So what we see is adherence when punitive measures are enforced or when people are watching, and revert to nonchalance immediately after. We ask the same question we've been asking since this pandemic. How do we get people to buy into the need for these guidelines, these vaccinations, and so on? And as always, we give you our Abuja wrap. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Kayla Magwa. Let's begin with a rundown of top stories from the nation's seat of power.
President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the board of the newly incorporated Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. He told the board, which is chaired by Senator Margie Okadibo, to ensure strict compliance with corporate governance principles that places premium on doing business with the highest ethical standards, integrity and transparency.
There should be full alignment and synergy between NNPC Limited, the Upstream Regulatory Commission, and the Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority in compliance with the provisions of the law in all respects to deliver the onerous reforms envisaged for the energy industry. NNPC Limited is expected to operate at par with its industry peers elsewhere in the world, while acting as an enabler company that will foster the development of other sectors of our economy.
The president met with Governor Badaru Abubakar of Jigawa State. The details of the meeting was not made public. He also met with Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State behind closed doors.
You know, when convention is coming, there are fears here and there. Some people will tell you it will work, it will not work. But I'm happy, I don't want to draw the conclusion, but the visit, the president has already assured us, and you know, there is already a notice that all the governors are meeting on Sunday. By Sunday, we will tell you when we are doing the convention. We are taking a date already. So these are things that the president was raising his fears. But we are already giving him assurances that nothing will stop us from having a very peaceful election.
The president is pledging to assist Mali in every way possible within the ambits of ECOWAS. He made the promise when he received Mali's Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization, Colonel Abdoulaye Mega, who is a special envoy to the president of Mali. President Buhari also met with the head of the ECOWAS mediation team and former President Goodluck Jonathan. According to the statements from the president's media aide, Femi Adesina, a special meeting of ECOWAS to further deliberate on the political situation in Mali will hold in Ghana on Sunday, January 9, 2022. The federal government has formally declared bandit groups operating in the country as terrorists. The declaration, titled Terrorism Prevention Prescription Order Notice 2021, is contained in Volume 108 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Official Gazette. The Nigerian military says it has recorded some successes in its fight against terrorism and banditry, including neutralizing 1,910 terrorists, bandits and other criminal elements. The Acting Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Bernard Onyuko, made this known while reviewing progress of the military operations across the country.
Within the period under review, own troops operational activities resulted in the neutralization of 950 terrorists, including their high-profile commanders and amirs. Also, a total of 79 terrorists were arrested. 113 kidnapped civilians were rescued by the troops of Operation Hiding Kai within this period. In Operation Haider, the operational efforts of our troops yielded appreciable results between 20th May 2021 and 6 January 2022. A total of 537 armed bandits and other criminal elements were neutralized in action by own troops.
Military veterans have staged a peaceful protest, asking, among other things, that they are paid their 24-month outstanding arrears of minimum wage, immediate payment of their security debarment allowance, and a review of the National Health Insurance Scheme to cover serious ailments that they suffer as military veterans. The peaceful protest was held at the entrance of the Ministry of Finance, where they were assured that something is being done about it.
What we have done is to include it in the 2022 budget. And I'm aware that Commodore Lawal of the Rear Admiral Lawal of Military Pensions Board has informed you that it's in the budget. And I want to reassure you as the custodian of the budget that that money is in the budget.
The Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, is warning commandants of police colleges that there will be severe disciplinary actions against any of them who indulges in forms of extortion from the newly recruited constables of the force. He gave the warning when he met with the commandants. The police have set up a special desk for persons with disabilities. The special desk, which the police says will be replicated in all police commands in the country, will serve as an advocacy desk for the enforcement of the 2018 Discrimination Prohibition Act.
The Nigeria Police Force Special Desk for Persons with Disability, therefore, is an advocacy desk to give effect to this novel cause to enable the force avail persons with disability unfettered access to police services, promote the dignity of their persons, discourages stigmatization and stereotyping, and give full effect to the Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Prohibition Act 2018.
The federal government has been reviewing the 2021 performance of the National Social Investment Program. The national coordinator of the program, Dr. Umar Bindiri, says the program has lifted millions out of poverty already through its many interventions, and though there are many challenges with its implementation, it is poised to sustain the momentum of the program. The federal government is projecting a revenue target of 10.7 trillion naira for the 2022 fiscal year. The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, made the disclosure at the public presentation and breakdown of the 2022 budget.
As at November 2021, federal government's aggregate revenue was 5.51 trillion. This represents 74% of the prorated target. The federal government share of oil revenues was 970.3 billion, representing 53% performance prorated target for the oil and gas revenues.
Welcome back. Now, Abuja is slipping. We're letting down our guard, dropping the ball, forgetting there's still a pandemic. We went around the nation's capital to see if people still wear masks. Are there still spaces in buses? Are the hand-washing points still functional? How are people conducting themselves in crowded areas? Please watch this.
The hustle is back on in the nation's capital. The roads are busy again. Major traffic spots such as the Area 1 roundabout are back to their usual throng of commuters heading to work in different parts of the nation's capital. Most of the commuters are not adhering to the COVID-19 guidelines.
Yeah, you see, this thing depends on consciousness. The fact that wearing a face mask, most people like me and you now, you even know that you have to pull it by the ridge of your nose. Others will even wear it or get it and put it in the pocket. Others will put it at their jaw. So they move and go to their working places or elsewhere and come back and do their normal, live their normal life. So the thing is the consciousness, like if you go to hospitals where the consciousness is there, they will tell you to please put this so you are not wearing it well. Or if you don't wear it, you go back. But look at from here now, how many people are wearing it? And how many people can you talk to? So what we advise the media, or maybe other, like the churches and the mosques, emphasize these things, they emphasize it in the hospitals. If you do that, people will know that actually this thing is really needful. If you are wearing it, you don't have anything to lose.
The markets are crowded with little or no compliance to the protocols, while some of the malls have put in place the devices for hand washing.
Face mask is to protect your nose and mouth from any diseases, from any people that is close, from any person that is close to you. So if I enter a vehicle, if I'm in a public vehicle, somebody does not put on what they call it face masks. Me, I don't feel comfortable because why? I don't know the person that's close to me. I don't know what he's suffering from, the illness he's suffering from. So it's necessary to use this face mask.
Most people, they only value this because it's a law. Maybe you want to enter a bank. Some churches now, not all. If you go there, they say without face mask. Also on schools, no face mask, no entry because of their job. So just because of some certain things, that's what people are adhering to that. Unlike when the issue of COVID-19 was, afresh. I'm so sure this vaccine came earlier. Myself will have got vaccinated already because people are just adhering to the principle because of where to go. It's all like carrying biro to class. That's the way I'm seeing it, but that's very bad. It's condemnable.
In Nigeria, as at January 7, 2022, over 200,000 people have been infected with COVID-19. Over 3,000 people have died. 8 people have died this January already. Over 791 people have been infected this January, and 84 of those are in the Federal Capital Territory. Over 200 people have died of COVID-19 in Abuja since 2020. The roads around the Federal Secretariat are experiencing their usual bustle as civil servants alight from the staff bus to begin the day's duties. At the Bullet House, which houses the head of service, it is also a slow trickle to work with very little adherence to non-pharmaceutical guidelines for COVID-19. People are seen entering without wearing masks, and no one is being sanitized at the entrance. The story is similar at the Phase 1, which houses most of the ministries, departments and agencies. Some civil servants resume work with their vaccination cards ready to be checked in at the entrance, as was announced by the federal government in December 2021.
According to what we were expecting, they said 1st December we are going to use our nose masks, and if you don't have the card, you ask to go back. But for me, I've taken my first dose, my COVID-19 dose.
Did they check you as you were entering?
No.
The security guards explain why the checks are not being done.
Until federal government will give such order.
But until then, you just advise people
to go and complete it.
Nevertheless, more Nigerians are hoping to get vaccinated as the federal government makes efforts to ramp up the exercise to achieve herd immunity.
As a good citizen of this country, we have to be vaccinated. COVID-19 is real, although people take it for granted, but it's for real. When you go to the Western world, even here in Nigeria, so it's real.
When we were growing up, there used to be immunization and a lot of things. Even some years back, issue of yellow fever, there were a lot of vaccination around. I want to say that it's for good because scientists can prove this better. I think it's all like in form of immunization. Once you take it, in case you encounter with the infection, there can be you can be immunized against it.
From all indications, the pandemic is far from over. The virus has continued to undergo mutations, developing new variants in the process. Since the vaccines have proven to be effective, vaccination can keep people from getting ill and less likely to spread the virus to others. Nevertheless, adhering to non-pharmaceutical interventions remains the most effective means of protection against the virus.
Nigeria, sadly, is one of the countries still unable to reach our set vaccination goals. 4.5 million people are fully vaccinated so far out of our 154 million population. The plan is to increase this figure, and we're seeing efforts by the federal government and private entities insisting all workers get vaccinated and adhere to the non-pharmaceutical guidelines while at the work premises. But is this enough? If we are to meet our targets as a nation, will this do? My guest is the Director General of the National Center for Disease Control, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa. He tells me he doesn't think we will see the end of the pandemic this year. Dr. Adetifa, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much.
Let's go straight right now to what it is that we've been having to deal with as a country. What is the dominant strain of COVID-19 in Nigeria? We keep hearing of new strains every single day, and then it feels like the Nigerian government and the NCDC, of course, it feels like they're being responsive, they are being reactionary to a lot of the strains that keep coming up. So what's the dominant strain in Nigeria, and what's in place to handle that situation?
Thank you for that very important question. The dominant strain in Nigeria since about week 46 has been the Omicron variant. So what we saw
is the dominant strain in Nigeria?
Yes, at the moment. So what we've seen by looking at genetic information from positive cases was a gradual introduction of the Omicron, and of course it continued to increase in number, and finally, sort of displaced the Delta variant, or toppled it from its top rank about week 46, and has continued to dominate in terms of the predominant variant in the country. I think it's important that I use this opportunity to highlight that we are not necessarily being responsive. So genomic surveillance continues. It's an ongoing process. We would like to test a lot more or sequence a lot more samples, but we sequence the number fairly consistently, and we see other variants. And what people may not remember is that if you follow the Greek alphabets, we are now all the way to Omicron. So we know Alpha, we know Beta, we know Delta, and then Omicron. But there have been other variants in between. Nobody seems to remember that there was an Eta variant, for example. And I'm using that, mentioning that in particular because it was found in passengers from Nigeria. I think, if I remember correctly, 4 or 5 cases long before I took over. But what did not happen is that it did not become a variant of concern. So all of these variants that are popular because they were labeled as variants of concern. There are other variants that are being found. There are variants that are labeled as variants under monitoring or variants of interest. That's, let's wait and see. But they do not make it into being labeled as variants of concern. And there are clear criteria that need to be fulfilled before a variant is labeled as a variant of concern. Otherwise, it's just something you pick up in your genomic surveillance and keep watching.
So the Omicron variant is a variant of concern for the NCDC. Should the Nigerian public be concerned as well? What are the things that we've noticed about this variant that is making it something that we should be worried about as a country? Are there more deaths as a result of the Omicron variant? We've heard that it is easier to pass from one person to the other, very easy to transmit around the place. But is it deadly? Have we been seeing people dying from the Omicron variant since it became the dominant strain in Nigeria?
Okay, so there is an international process and committee that are responsible for labeling COVID or SARS-CoV-2 variants as variants of concern. And typically they use about 3 criteria. So one is that there have been enough changes in this new variant for it to result in change epidemiology for the disease. And we've seen that because, it's taken over all over the world. There've been a very high number of cases. There have been changes to it to make it more transmissible. And we've seen that with this particular variant. And the other bit is that you're worried that there are changes that either provide this virus a means to escape protective immune responses, or actually to escape whatever vaccine-induced protection that we may get. And all of these criteria in various ways have been met by Omicron. I need to also add that in terms of the change in epidemiology, a variant will be considered to tick the box if it also is either led to a change in disease severity or is associated with more deaths. What we have not seen with Omicron is an increased severity of disease, and we have not seen as many deaths as have been reported with Delta and some of the other variants previously mentioned. But we are seeing a very large number of cases, and in other settings, the cases have been of such magnitude that they are threatening to overwhelm the healthcare system. I don't know if people are following the situation currently in parts of India and in the UK and parts of the United States as well. So I don't think the summary of this is that it's not only deaths that are important. Obviously, we don't want people to die, but if you've got a lot of cases, you've got a highly transmissible variant that's also affecting healthcare workers and making many of them stay at home. What it means is, God forbid, if you're involved in a road traffic accident and you need emergency care or surgery, you go to a hospital that is overwhelmed by COVID cases, that has healthcare workers decimated by the same condition, then there's nobody to look after you. Now, those deaths or the problems associated with that kind of scenario would not be listed under a COVID death, but it is a consequence of having many cases. So we do need to all pay attention to what's going on. We've seen an uptick in cases in Nigeria. We've seen many healthcare workers affected. More importantly, this variant has come out from a situation of unmitigated transmission. We can be the source of the next variant of interest or variant of concern. That's what people need to remember. And God forbid, the next variant may emerge from, if it emerges from here, it may be one that's there've been such genetic changes that it really then results in all these deaths and severity of illness that we are worried about. So I think these are the points that fellow citizens need to remember.
Well, that's where we're going to have to wrap it up, Dr. Adetifa. Thank you so much for speaking to us on Dateline Abuja, and good luck with the work you have ahead of you for the rest of 2022.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure always.
Thanks to my guest, Dr. Adetifa, and to everyone who spoke to us this week on Dateline Abuja. A few days ago, I walked into a bank, and the security guard was telling a young man to put on his mask. The young man pulled out a dirty-looking mask from his pocket and put it on so he could enter the bank. He finished his business, and the moment he got out of the door, he took off the mask again, put it in his pocket, and walked away, right into the Harmattan haze. I wondered if he understood why he was supposed to wear a mask in the first place. Forget COVID. The dust alone is enough for me to wear a mask. The plan is not to spread fear, but to teach personal responsibility. Whether we like it or not, the world has changed. Wearing a mask, sanitizing, and staying away from crowds wouldn't feel like a struggle if we look at it as the right thing to do, not just something we're forced to do. Empathy is crucial in our response to this pandemic as a people. Protect yourself and those that you love. Wear a mask and go get vaccinated. For those of us who already are fully vaccinated, you heard the NCDC Director General. Get your booster jab as well. That's Dateline Abuja this week. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handle showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.